All right, for the plaintiff, we have Mr. Reich. We have a witness, and for the defense, I will be Mr. Mann. Mr. Reich is in examination. 160 words per minute.
Ready? Begin. Would you please state your full name?
Joseph Gold.
What is your present address?
2160 Century Park East, Los Angeles 90067.
And your business address?
3660 Wilshire Boulevard, Los Angeles 90010.
What is your age?
64.
Are you presently employed?
Yes.
Who is your employer?
Mutual Building and Engineering Corporation.
In what capacity are you employed with them?
Building manager.
Could you briefly describe your duties?
Responsible for maintenance of mechanical and overall building operation, its components and personnel.
Is that the building located at 3660 Wilshire?
Yes.
Mr. Gold, the proceeding that is taking place here today is called a deposition, and do you understand that the oath which the court reporter has just given you is the same oath that you would take if you were testifying in a court of law? Do you understand?
I do.
Reset, and that your answers are under penalty of perjury with the same force and effect as though you were testifying in a court of law under oath. Do you understand that?
I do.
If I ask you a question and you don't understand the question, please tell me and I'll be happy to repeat or rephrase the question. Do you understand?
I will.
Now, when we're done with the deposition today, the court reporter will type up all the words that we say here, and you will have an opportunity to read the deposition, and you will be asked to sign it after you read it. At that time, you will have an opportunity to make any changes that you feel necessary in your deposition. But if you do make any changes, I or any of the other attorneys involved in this case will be able to comment on those changes should this case go to trial. Do you understand?
I do.
Do you have any questions or reasons why the deposition should not continue?
No.
Were you called to the scene of an accident that occurred on July 19, 1978?
Yes.
What kind of accident was it?
Somebody had walked into a pane of glass.
How were you notified that this accident had taken place?
Upon my arrival at 3660 Wilshire, and upon going to my office in Suite 636, I was told of this incident and immediately went downstairs to find out what the story was.
When you got downstairs, what did you see?
I saw the plaintiff lying.
By plaintiff, whom do you mean?
Mr. Schwartz.
Please go on.
He was lying prone.
Do you mean lying on his back or lying on his stomach?
Lying on his back.
All right.
With his head westerly and his feet easterly, parallel to the entrance lobby.
Was he inside the lobby or outside the lobby?
He was inside the lobby.
Could you describe Mr. Schwartz's condition when you first saw him?
There was a uniformed individual that was applying a pressure point on his body that was knelt over him. Mr. Schwartz was lying on his back and was talking to no one specific, whether it was the person applying the pressure or whether it was some other that were standing around at the time. I have no way of knowing.
Was Mr. Schwartz bleeding from any part of his body?
Yes.
What parts of his body were bleeding?
The right side of his scalp.
Any other parts?
His right arm and right leg.
Where on his arm was he bleeding and where on his leg?
On the arm, he was bleeding in the area of his elbow. On his leg, he was bleeding in the area of his knee. And that's where the pressure was being applied by the person that was kneeling over him.
Pressure was applied to his leg?
Yes.
Did you notice any other injuries to Mr. Schwartz as he was lying there on the ground?
No.
Any bruises or bumps?
There was a redness on his forehead above his nose and right eye.
Did you see any other bumps, bruises, or cuts?
No.
How long did you observe Mr. Schwartz when you first came down? For how long a period?
I would say initially it was a matter of minutes. Let's say a few minutes at the most.
All right, thank you. After you saw Mr. Schwartz, what did you do?
I went into the bank because I noticed the bank manager and asked her if she knew anything about what happened.
Why did you go into the bank?
I went into the bank because
Objection, irrelevant. And may I also suggest to you, counsel, that whatever may have transpired in the bank with this witness's investigation, if any, and any conversations he may have had with any other people are wholly extraneous, irrelevant, and inadmissible, but nonetheless, you can go ahead and ask if that's what you're bent on doing.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and ask, but thank you, counsel. We have noted your objection for the record. Why did you go into the bank?
I wanted to see if I could find out if anyone there could tell me any additional information.
And when you spoke to the bank manager, what did you say?
She told me that
First, what did you say to the bank manager, and what did she say?
Does the bank manager have a name?
yes, a first name. It's Regina or Regina. I don't know how she pronounces her name.
Do you know her last name?
No.
Would it be all right if we refer to her as the bank manager?
Well,
Or how about manageress?
What did you say to the bank manager?
I asked her if she knew what happened, and she said yes. Mr. Schwartz was in the bank.
This, of course, is all in the face of my continuing objection.
Yes, I understand, counsel. Please go on, Mr. Gold.
And had spoken to the librarian, Miss James, and then left the premises of the bank.
Did you say anything else to the bank manager, or did she say anything else to you at that time?
Well, she told me that the next time she saw Mr. Schwartz was after he had walked into the glass pane.
And after you were done talking to the bank manager, what did you do?
I went over to the librarian.
Why does this bank have a librarian?
I'd say it's public relations. They have a small library. They have tables and chairs, and people are able to come in and read newspapers and magazines and check out books.
What did you say to Miss James, and what did Miss James say to you?
I asked her if she knew anything about the incident.
And what did she say?
She said yes, that Mr. Schwartz had asked her where the nearest telephone was.
And did she...
And she, in turn, told him down the hall.
Did you say anything else to her, or did she say anything else to you at this time?
No. That was the substance of her conversation.
Did she say that she saw?
Other than she mentioned that Mr. Schwartz, left the bank.
Did she say where she had directed Mr. Schwartz to find a phone?
She told Mr. Schwartz that there were public telephones down the hallway of the main floor.
Is that towards the interior of the building or towards the street?
Towards the interior of the building.
After you were done talking to, is it Miss or Mrs. James? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
After you were done talking to Mrs. James, what did you do?
I went outside the wheelchair entrance to the building to take a look at where the impact between the glass pane and Mr. Schwartz had taken place.
And what did you see when you got out to the place of the accident?
I saw that there was a hole in the glass a few feet from the bottom and approximately 2 feet from the north mullion.
What do you mean by mullion?
The metal strips that contain the glass, the vertical strips, are called mullions.
Perhaps it would be easier for you, Mr. Gold, if you drew a diagram of the pane of glass into which Mr. Schwartz walked. Would that be agreeable with you and counsel?
Well, shall we go off the record a moment?
We will further note for the record that the diagram which Mr. Gold will draw is not necessarily to scale, but is simply a schematic to aid and understand this testimony. When you reached the scene of the accident, did you see a glass pane that had been broken?
Yes.
Which pane was it that had been broken?
The third pane from the sidewalk on the west side to the entrance of the building.
So if you counted from the corner of the entrance back 3 panes, you saw it was the third pane that was broken.
Right, that's correct.
And could you describe briefly the dimensions of the pane?
The pane is 6 feet wide and 7.5 inches high.
Inches?
7 feet, 6 inches high. Sorry,
And what is the pane made of?
it's made of 1/4-inch plate glass.
And you said you observed a hole in the plate glass pane?
Yes,
And could you indicate where on the diagram the hole was? Is the circle that you're drawing on the diagram the hole?
that's the opening. Yes.
Describe for us briefly where it was in relationship to, say, the bottom right corner of the pane.
Well, it was approximately 2 feet south of the north mullion and approximately 2.5 feet above the ceramic tile floor.
And about how big was the hole?
The hole was approximately 8 to 10 inches in diameter.
Could you describe the condition of the rest of the pane of glass?
The pane of glass was shattered, triangular spines running from the north and south mullions to the hole and from the base to the hole for approximately 1/2 of the height of the glass.
Could you indicate on the diagram how the shatter marks ran on the glass? You indicated,
May I ask a question?
please go ahead.
What does this horizontal line indicate?
There was a vertical break, a horizontal break approximately halfway up.
It wasn't regular, but close to horizontal. It wasn't perfectly straight, was it?
Let me make a correction here.
I'm trying to understand whether there was a bar there.
No, there is no bar, but the bottom half of the glass was shattered, was broken.
Yes.
All right. The upper portion of the glass was not,
It was unbroken?
was unbroken.
And you say from this point of impact, breakage lines radiated out,
Right.
and they went up here and stopped at this horizontal line?
No,
There is something I don't understand there.
no. Okay. These pieces here, though they were still intact, were anchored in the front.
So you're saying that these weren't there, and this probably wasn't there, but this probably went to there and to there.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't level, it wasn't square or level, but I get your point now. Okay.
That was what I observed.
The end. I'm so sorry.